Mickey Mouse enters the public domain. Wild new laws are now in effect. And documents in the Epstein case get unsealed. Finally! Oh, they left us hanging just like Epstein. This is America Uncovered. Hi, I'm Matt Gnezda. Today, the mustache is filling in for Chris. Happy 2024, everyone! This is truly a historic year. Not because it's the year we could see Joe Biden and Donald Trump battle over the US presidency again. Oh, that story's a more needless revival than the new Night Court. No, 2024 is the year that Mickey Mouse enters the public domain, with the copyright expiring on his earliest version, 1928's Steamboat Willie. And if you're not familiar with Steamboat Willie, here it is. You hear that? That's the sound of Disney's lawyers not beating down my door and filing a copyright strike on this channel. Disney is notorious for protecting its material, going so far as to threaten legal action back in 1989 against 3 daycare centers that had murals depicting Disney characters. The reason they did this was threefold. One, Disney didn't think it was fair to other entities that paid license fees. 2, Disney was worried people might think the daycare centers had an affiliation with the company when they didn't. And 3, Disney's lawyers are such sharks they got cast in Finding Nemo. So while Disney was legally allowed to do this, it was horrible PR for them, since they, threatened daycare centers. This led to a general perception of them being corporate monsters. In fact, they were the biggest corporate monsters born in 1989, besides Taylor Swift. Now, while the copyright has expired on Steamboat Willie, the trademark still exists. Broadly speaking, copyrights stop theft of a person or company's content, while trademarks stop theft of a company's name. So, for example, in this case, the name Steamboat Willie can't be sold on a t-shirt or whatever, because that would imply that the shirt is a licensed Disney product. But he can be used in various forms of art. And boy, is he ever! Mere hours after Steamboat Willie hit the public domain, a trailer for a survival horror video game titled Infestation 88 dropped, featuring a murderous version of the character. This is a lot like how after Winnie the Pooh became public domain in 2022, a murderous version of him was released in the horror movie Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, which is frankly redundant because there's already a horrifying murderous version of Winnie the Pooh, Chinese leader Xi Jinping. But while the Steamboat Willie version of Mickey Mouse is no longer under copyright, later versions of Mickey Mouse are still protected, which means you can't use other famous appearances of Mickey, such as, What has Mickey been in, besides Fantasia? I mean, can anyone name a Mickey Mouse story even worth copying? How did he wind up as their mascot when he's arguably their least interesting character? I mean, even Goofy has the awesome A Goofy movie. Honestly, I don't know why Disney is so afraid of people using their copyrighted or trademarked material. Because, as their awful live-action remakes have all shown, nothing can do more damage to Disney's brand than Disney. Speaking of people doing damage to a prestigious institution's reputation, Harvard President Claudine Gay has resigned amid backlash to her comments regarding anti-Semitism on campus, along with multiple accusations of plagiarism in her scholarly works. Weirdly, she will remain on the school faculty, because anti-Semitism and plagiarisms are reason enough to quit being the public face of a university, but not enough to stop teaching tomorrow's leaders. In a letter, Gay says, "After consultation with members of the corporation, it has become clear that it is in the best interest of Harvard for me to resign so that our community can navigate this moment of extraordinary challenge with a focus on the institution rather than any individual." Wow, how eloquently worded. Well done to whoever she plagiarized that from. Now, according to the Harvard Crimson, that's the university's newspaper, Gay was the shortest presidency in Harvard's nearly 400 years as a school, lasting just over 6 months. Though Gay is stepping down, this doesn't mean Harvard's issues are coming to an end. Gay was just speaking in line with Harvard's progressive, largely Marxist ideology, viewing the world through the lens of oppressor versus oppressed. So when she was asked whether or not calls for genocide against the Jewish people constituted harassment or bullying, she said this.
It can be, depending on the context.
What's the context?
Targeted as an individual, at an individual.
It's targeted at Jewish students, Jewish individuals. Do you understand your testimony is dehumanizing them?
Obviously, Gay didn't understand, and neither did Harvard, who continued to back her amidst all the controversy. However, with even her backers admitting she plagiarized, they now have an excuse to support her resignation without admitting their ideology may be flawed. When you only see the world in a powerful versus powerless mindset, it lacks nuance and appears to justify all sorts of outlandish positions, which is typical for Harvard. I haven't seen anything this black and white and cartoonish since, well, and after the break, a wild brawl in a North Carolina McDonald's. Welcome back. A North Carolina pastor has been arrested for punching a McDonald's employee and pushing his head towards the deep fryer. According to a police report, the not quite deep fried employee was a coworker of the pastor's wife, and she complained that the man disrespected her, which is why her husband came in and started the fight. But I don't know if we can rule out that the pastor wasn't just trying to baptize the man in the deep fryer. I've lived in the South, and they love deep frying everything, even their salvation. A new year means a lot of new laws taking effect around the country. And I mean a lot. Illinois alone has over 320 new state laws, including ones that block state funds to libraries that ban books, mandate paid vacation time, increase minimum wage, ban indoor vaping, allow police to use surveillance drones for special events, pre-register teens to vote when they get their driver's licenses at 16 or 17, and legalize fuzzy dice. Yes, you heard that last new law correctly. It will now be legal to hang fuzzy dice from rearview mirrors. It was illegal to hang anything from rearview mirrors in Illinois. The reasoning was that it was a safety hazard. But many feel police use this law as an excuse to pull over motorists of color. Sponsor of the bill, Illinois Senator Christopher Belt, says, "With this new law, we are sending a powerful message that the state does not tolerate racial profiling or other forms of discrimination." Okay, that's just some of the new laws. Many think some of these were long overdue, but is it really a good idea to enact so many new rules all at once? Doesn't that seem like it would be kind of confusing? I mean, that'd be like if in the middle of playing baseball, all of a sudden the umpire yelled that we're now actually playing soccer, and if anyone breaks the rules of soccer, they're going to jail. Don't worry though, I haven't forgotten to mention the fact that one of the laws that passed in Illinois was a semi-automatic weapon ban. Actually, a lot of new gun laws went into effect this week around the country. Illinois now bans the sale of the AR-15 rifle, as well as a list of other what they call assault weapons. Those who already own these types of guns before the new law went into effect must have them registered with the state. The Supreme Court was asked to stop this ban, but they declined to intervene while it made its way through lower courts. Meanwhile, Colorado has banned ghost guns. A federal lawsuit was filed over this against Colorado Governor Jared Polis. And when I say ghost guns, I mean firearms that don't have a serial number, the ones that can be built at home, sometimes using 3D printed parts. Not ghost guns like what the Ghostbusters use. I'm pretty sure there aren't any laws against proton packs, as long as, obviously, you don't cross the streams. And a new California law banning concealed firearms is also facing legal issues. A U.S. district judge initially blocked this law from going into effect, but a federal appeals court stayed that judge's order. This new California law makes it illegal to carry a concealed firearm even if the owner has a concealed carry permit in several public places like parks, churches, and banks. And I say, California knows what it's doing, because if criminals and mass shooters are known for anything, it's following the rules. I'm surprised California doesn't just put up a bunch of "Please, no murder sprees" signs everywhere. That'll fix everything. But what about open carry? Because after I make my New Year's resolution gym goals, I'm never going to put down these guns. Pew pew! Speaking of California, While a lot of states are trying to discourage illegal immigrants from entering the country, California has become the first state to offer all illegal immigrants health insurance as part of their Medicaid program, Medi-Cal. Governor Gavin Newsom says, "Through this expansion, we're making sure families and communities across California are healthier, stronger, and able to get the care they need when they need it." California Republicans criticized the move, saying the expansion will make it hard for people already in the Medi-Cal program to get the care they need. While the people already in the program said, "So nothing will change then." North Carolina passed a law that requires age verification on websites with material considered harmful to children. Oh, so TikTok? Heck, considering all the time grandmas spend with sprained hips trying to do a dance challenge, that site's harmful to people of every age. But no, they don't care about TikTok, even though TikTok is controlled by the Chinese Communist Party, which is also interested in interfering with our elections. No, this law specifically cracks down on pornography sites. If these sites fail to verify users' ages, or if they retain users' personal information after entering the website, parents of minors have the right to sue. Utah and Texas passed similar laws, with both facing legal challenges over whether or not they violate the First Amendment. Now, instead of complying with this new rule, that big adult site Pornhub redirected people in North Carolina who accessed their page to a message asking them to reach out to their representatives and oppose this law, which sounds like an effective way to get people to contact their representatives. But I don't think it'll work, since it's hard to type and operate a phone with only one hand. And of course, since this is North Carolina, it might be even more difficult since their phones and computers might be deep fried, just like their salvation. Greasy amen. And after the break, a list of names linked to Jeffrey Epstein is finally made public. Welcome back. 40 documents containing unredacted names mentioned in the 2015 Virginia Giuffre lawsuit against Ghislaine Maxwell, that's Jeffrey Epstein's right-hand woman, those have been made public. 250 more are expected to be released in the future. In those documents, about 180 names were made public, as the deadline for objections to unsealing the court documents passed on January 1st. Happy New Year! We're finally going to know who Epstein's powerful accomplices are. Time for a New Year's party after party! The elite monsters are finally going to be taken down. Well, not so fast. It's important to note that these roughly 180 names are not a client list. The names include victims, potential accomplices, and potential associates who did business with Epstein and didn't know what he was up to or turned a blind eye to it. So basically anyone Epstein ever talked to. That's super helpful. One of the names on the list was Michael Jackson, but he probably didn't engage in any illegal activity with Epstein because everyone knows he wasn't into underage girls. At least 2 of the anonymous Jane Does, possible Epstein victims, successfully appealed to keep their names redacted until at least January 22nd, citing a fear for their safety. And a lot of the names that appeared are names that had already been linked to Epstein, with the largest being Prince Andrew, Donald Trump, and Bill Clinton. The 2 former presidents weren't accused of any wrongdoing by Giuffre. I mean, do you even call this a groundbreaking revelation? We already knew these names would show up. That's like a new Smash Brothers game coming out and the big reveal trailer only shows Mario. Bill Clinton was named over 50 times throughout the document. However, he's named because Epstein accuser Virginia Giuffre tried getting Clinton to testify against Epstein. The documents don't implicate Clinton in any illegal activities. In fact, it's likely none of the people in these documents will face new charges, as they're not implicated in any illegal activities either. So for anyone hoping this would be a definitive list of powerful people like Will Smith or Tom Hanks that were, contained proof that they were 100% guilty of some horrific crime, sorry, that was never what this was going to be. This is like asking for a dog for Christmas, and instead of getting a dog, you get a used VHS copy of Air Bud. It's not nothing, but it's not what you were hoping for. Epstein's former lawyer and friend, Alan Dershowitz, who was named in these documents and for years has been saying everything should be out in the open, says about the people named, you could judge them for having shown bad judgment, but you can't conclude that any accusations against them are true without hearing the evidence. So while you can make guesses as to which people actually partook in Epstein and Maxwell's human trafficking and orgies, without hard evidence, it would be just that, a guess. Except for Prince Andrew. I'm pretty sure that dude is guilty of something. So when are we going to definitively know who Epstein's elite clients who engaged in sex trafficking were? Maybe never. Which is depressing, but not surprising, because the rich and powerful are just too well connected. I bet if they wanted to, they could probably access anyone who could expose them, have them killed, and make it look like a suicide. And America Uncovered would not exist without your support. So click that orange button to support us on Patreon. All it takes is $1 an episode, and you can set a monthly limit too. Once again, I'm Matt Gnezda. See you next time.